All right, everyone, welcome to this video. This video, we're going to cover basically everything that we spoke about in all the other videos of how to optimize all the different ways you could optimize your service business online. Well, in this video, it's going to be really the priority list, at least that what we believe for most service businesses is going to be the highest priority actions that could get you the most results for the least amount of efforts. So basically, this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to do three sections here. So it's going to be first improvement priority list. So you could just improve and get that has the highest priority in our opinion. Then continuous improvements, things you can continuously improve and can help you in your business. And then the best A/B tests to be made that can have the highest conversion rate for your business. Now, all of these are going to depend for what the type of business you are, what type of level you're at. So this is not might not be accurate exactly for you, but it could give you a good guideline, a good idea. And I'm going to explain every single one in detail also to give you a good idea of what might be worth it for you at this present moment for your business. So we're going to jump right in here. We're going to start with the improvement priority list. The thing is, for the improvement priority list, we're going to go first with Google My Business, and Google My Business being the most important one, especially, well, I would say especially for service businesses that do their services locally. So if you're a contractor, you're a hair salon, you're a restaurant, you're a barbershop, you're any type of business that offers their services locally, your Google My Business is probably the best asset you have. And for the cost to change it being basically zero, basically being an hour of your time, it has the highest ROI potential for you. You know, most people that we noticed, most service businesses we worked with, they probably have, half the traffic coming from the Google My Business and half from coming from organic SEO, meaning like Google rankings. And then if they have ads, it's an extra. So being half, or even if it's 20% of your visitors to site coming directly through Google My Business, then it has a high impact for you to optimize these things. Now, when I'm saying optimize, what I mention is title, description, images and videos, having more reviews and better reviews, having location and multi-location. I'll explain what that means. Google products and some miscellaneous optimizations. Now, just as an FYI, we have trainings going over all these aspects of your service business. So if you could see here, if ever you guys download this, if you get access to this Miro board, it's going to be linked in the description below. There's a paid product, but these trainings are free. These are going to be linked also below. So let's say I have a full training going over Google My Business, how to optimize it, and the checklist for it. And also you get access, within that you get access to this checklist here that basically gives you just a checklist, easy to implement for every single aspect. So it's in this case front end SEO, then you have back end SEO, link building SEO, and so on and so forth. So let's just get back to the overview of what can be done for your Google My Business. So let's get here. So for your Google My Business, basically what you want is you want to increase your conversion rate. So meaning the amount of people, let's say you have 1,000 people noticing your Google My Business, you want the most amount of them to end up clicking on your website or contact you directly. So your conversion rate, let's say your current conversion rate for Google My Business is 10%, you get 1,000 impressions and you get 100 of them to contact you in any form. What you want is you want to optimize it for that. So to get more than 100, so you get to 200, so you increase your conversion rate. Also, you want to increase the amount of people. So if you had 1,000, now you want to get to 2,000. So you want to optimize from 1,000 to 2,000. You want to get from 100 to 200. And then these two have an exponential effect, because if you increase from 1,000 visitors a month to 2,000 visitors a month by optimizing the SEO aspects of Google My Business, well, you get twice as many leads, because now you went from 100 leads to 200 leads. But then if you optimize your conversion rate, then instead of being 10%, it's 20%. So now you're going from those 200 to 400. So it has a compounding effect when you do them both together. So that's the effect of it. Why optimize GMB? GMB is, for most local service businesses, the most common way a client will find your business online, making it the most valuable asset you have, as well as one of the easiest ones to change. Time to implement 1 to 2 days for beginners, as well as 2 to 4 hours per week to constantly update if you're not using automations. So maybe you want to do some Google posts, or maybe you want to change some images. So basic overview, what you would want for your Google My Business is have your title be title. We have it in the training. It's a little bit difficult to gauge, because in the guidelines of Google My Business, your title has to be your exact business title. It cannot be, let's say if your roofing company is called ABC Roofing, your business legal name is ABC Roofing. Your Google My Business cannot be ABC Roofing Montreal or ABC Roofing Company. It has to be ABC Roofing, or else you're against Google's guidelines. But the thing is that the title has a large effect on your on your rankings in Google My Business. So if you change your legal name or you change it to Google's, you see with the Google's guidelines, we have some explanations there how to do it. But through that, you could have if you could have a longer business name that has more keywords. So if your business name was Roofing Experts, ABC Roofing Experts, well, when somebody's searching for roofing experts, you have a larger chance. That's a larger chance of appearing first compared to your competitors because your keywords are there. But to be done with caution. So that's for the title. Description, basically you want to put as many keywords as you can in there without being spammy. So without the structure of the sentences and the paragraphs not making sense. And you want to fill out the whole, I think it's 750 characters. You want to fill that out, all out. Keywords, do keywords in the description affect your rankings? People say no, some people say yes. There's no confirmation from what I know of Google My Business saying yes or no. But in any case, worth to give it a try. Most people don't end up reading your description that much, so you could just might as well use it for keywords for trying to rank higher. In terms of reviews, you want to get as many reviews as possible. The quantity of reviews is important, but also the quality of reviews. You want to answer your reviews. So every single review you have, you might want to answer it just because that keeps people engaged with you, but it also helps with Google My Business, just makes you appear as a stronger authority, as somebody who's more active with their customers and stuff like that. Negative reviews, especially, you want to answer them back because if it's a false concern, then you could address it and maybe fix it with a person. If they're right to say that concern, well, maybe you could address it in a way that seems, publicly could appear as a good solution to the problem, maybe offering a solution to the person. That's it there. For location, multi-location, what you could do is you could set up on your Google My Business, you can have multiple locations for your Google My Business. So if you have your location that sits in the center of the city, so you have a whole town, you're offering your services in that town, you have in the center, your business address is there. Well, what you could have is you could have a second address, maybe you have a secondary business address, or if you don't, you could get one. So you could pay a rent that's cheap rent for an office, in a sense. You get that Google verification card over there, and now you've got two Google My Business listings. So you got one in the center of the town, then one in the west side of the town, and then you could have one in the east side of the town. You could have as many as you want and set up. So what that does is that when somebody is searching for your service, if they're not in the vicinity of your Google My Business listing, they're under your vicinity, they're most likely, it gets exponentially less likely that they're going to see you. So the way I could say is you could imagine like a pyramid where if you had the center, the most amount of people, the higher the pyramid is the amount of people, most amount of people are going to see it. The further you get away, the less amount of people there is. And then if you don't have anything set up, let's say in the west side of the island or the west side of your town or the east side of your town, and it's a large kilometer gap, then the high likelihood that you're going to show up there in those rankings when somebody's searching for, let's say, roofing X in town. Well, if you don't have that spot where they actually live at, where they're actually located when they're doing that search, you might not pop up. So, but if you have those rents that you're paying, maybe it's $100 rent just to have a section of an office, just so you could claim that as your address, then you could play that game with Google My Business and have your spot at different locations. So you could get triple the amount of leads because now not only does your main place get attractions, but now these other places are getting attractions too. So that's something to consider. And an interesting idea that not a lot of people talk about, but could be very useful for businesses. Then you got Google products. You could set up in your Google My Business page different products that you might have. Let me just show you maybe an example. Let me go here in one of the case studies we had. Yeah, here you go. So let's say here products. In this case, for this company, it's a logistics company. They have DHL and Kanpar. So you can set these products up here and you could just see how this is before. You can see how it just increases the visibility of what you do. So let's say if I go even, a better example would be here, this barber shop that we worked with. So in their example, they didn't have their product set up here. But after that, we ended up setting it up here. So if somebody's searching through that Google My Business, now they see the types of services they offer. It says products, but you can set it up as services. If you have products, you can put products. But in the case of a service business, Google is not stopping you from doing this. So you could just set this up here. You can set up the main services you offer. We even did it, let's say, for this business here, this roofing company. Let me show you here. Yeah, that's it. So you see residential roofing, commercial roofing. This I block because there's their number, but residential elastomeric roofing. So we put their number there. So not only does the person now, they go into Google My Business, they see the number. They see, yeah, that's it. They see the number. They see what the services they offer. They see some images that explain it. So it just increases the conversion rate of it. So that's something to keep in mind there. And then after that, we have one last thing. Yeah, some miscellaneous optimizations. Like there's basically you want to fill out everything that there is on your Google My Business profile. So every single section, the Q&As you could answer. You could ask your own Q&As and answer them back yourself. So if you know that people have questions but nobody's asked them in the Q&A section, you could ask them with yourself with your own account and answer them back with your own account. So it just gives people more information. You could fill out basically you want to fill out every single aspect of your Google My Business with keywords and all that type of stuff, and that could be very worth it for your business to rank higher on Google My Business. So obviously this is just an overview, but if you want, once again, I'm going to stop mentioning it after, but you have the Google My Business training, so you can access that. There's going to be actual in-depth tips on how to set all these things up. Now, second thing that I would say is most important for a service business is automations. The reason why I put automations pretty up high is because automation is one of the things where you could capture revenue that's dormant or that exists but isn't accessed yet. Because if let's say you have 1,000 people contacting you a month, and through lack of manually being able to answer them back, you're losing 20% of them. Well, now if you got automations that answer them back, you've just captured 20% of your client base without adding any external uh, uncertainty. This is like as close as a certainty thing you could set up. Because if let's say you set up a missed call text back automation, being that somebody calls your business and let's say you open 9 to 5, well, after those hours, if you set up a missed call text back, somebody calls you, you don't answer, you can send them a text that's saying, hey, sorry we missed your call, but tomorrow we're going to call you back. That increases the likelihood that when you call them back tomorrow, they're going to stay a lead and they're going to stay interested, and you have a higher likelihood of closing them. So you could just set this up outside of the time zone you're working automatically. Set automatically costs you, some stuff. There's software fees and there's per SMS fees. There's some complexity to it, but you set it up once, automated. You pay whatever, $100 a month, and now you're capturing 20% more leads just because of this simple automation. So you could see how that could be at the foundation of any business you do, because now you're capturing stuff that you should be capturing, but you aren't. And then what happens is that whatever you're doing after, whatever you're building on top of that, so if you're getting more leads to your business, well, now those leads, instead of getting from, if you're bringing another 100 leads, instead of the usual 80 that you could capture, now you're capturing 100 of them. You're getting them to the next step, 100 of them. So you're capturing more. It's basically, if you have a bucket, you have a bunch of holes in your bucket, this is where you could fill out a bunch of those holes. So you can capture the most amount of essence from the client. So I would say that. Number 2.2 would be AI chatbot creation and integration. So on your website, on your text, on your DMs, if you're not answering your DMs, if you're not answering, text messages or whatever, you can set the AI chatbot, train it, set it there, forget it, pay the monthly fees, and that's it. And then what happens is that when somebody's contacting you, they're sending you a text, an email, let's say, or we'll say DMs for this example, or maybe just your website. So if you're not answering DMs, well, at least now you're getting feedback with the clients, you're answering them back, and you're maybe leading them to an appointment booking calendar, or you're leading them to your phone number so they call you. So instead of you having to manually do these things, and especially during outside of your business hours, so outside of your 9 to 5, let's say, now you're able to capture these leads. So same principle as the missed call text back, but now for DMs and emails, if that's something you could be interested in. Same thing for the website. You can have set up on your website so that if people, maybe out of those 1,000 that visit your website, you have 2% of them, so 220 of them that contact you, but you have some that would have wanted to contact you, but they don't want to take the phone. It's midnight or whatever, so they want to chat. So you have the chat bot they could chat with, they could ask questions, and then you could give them some information of when to contact you. So that could increase your conversion rate from your website too. All that automated. So that's the beauty, and that's the reason I put it so high, is that you set it up once. Okay, maybe it'd be annoying or expensive to set up that first time, and you have your little monthly fees, but after that you're set pretty much for life. And these things are going to get better and better with time. So obviously something to be taken into consideration. Then after that, the sales automations. I talked about that in the last video. So basically, let me just go back up here. So you got all your automations for, let's say, your appointment reminders, your warm-up flows, your post-consultation flows. Somebody missed a call, somebody canceled a call. You could have all these flows set up. And the reason, again, it's so high in the priority list is that if you have, let's say, if your close rate for your calls is 30%, well, having these automations set is a one-time work, one-time setup. You have some, obviously, issues can arise, but in essence, 95% of the work is made at the first time. And then after that, you get an increase in close rate that's going to be for the rest of your time. So it's the principle, the way I structured it in the sense is to say you want your foundation to be as solid as possible, to have the least amount of leaking holes through it, so that it captures everything after that you put in. So whatever you're going to put in after, you're not leaking it out. So you're increasing your amount of leads. Well, now your conversion rate, your close rate is 40% instead of 30. So now you got a lot more capacity for increasing leads, and everything is more optimized, it's more condensed, it's more tightly knit. And that allows you to have more profits, more revenue, and just a sharper system going down the funnel. So that's it for sales automations, and these, they're connected with their sales optimizations, which we're going to go back after. But basically, this is three is basically at this spot. Then these are after. Then you got the referral ask flow. So this is to ask your past clients, or you ask your clients that you're dealing with now for referrals, and that you could do this continuously. You could do this just momentarily, just one time, but you could send them all an email and say, hey, are you guys looking for, do you guys know anybody who would be interested in this service as well? Maybe if your clients, they did, let's say, a roof, you could say, hey, we're also doing gutter cleaning. Do you know anybody who's interested in gutter cleaning? Or you could do affiliate programs. You could do referrals to other businesses. There's so many things you could do, but you have an email list with a bunch of people who bought your service. So why not use that list and then resell them something else? Maybe it's something that it's a complementary service. Maybe it's a redo of that service. Maybe whatever type of business you have, it's going to depend. But this is one of the easiest ways to capture profit, because if you have, let's say, 10 years of business and you haven't ever emailed them even once, well, now you got all these leads that you've served, and hopefully you've served well, that might be interested in buying again from you if you have something else to offer them. So now if you have a new offer, maybe you're an agency, you used to do web design and now you're doing Google Ads as well, you could say, hey, look, we'd be interested in setting up your Google Ads. I hope your website was, had value to you. We also do Google Ads. Are you interested in that? And maybe you get some leads from there. That's a great way to capture, think about the effort to value ratio. This is why it's so ranked so high, is because the effort is you get the list, put in a CSV, set up on the software, type an email, copyright an email, blast it to everyone, and then receive what you receive. So you spent, 2 hours of work and maybe $100 in software, and you got yourself, depending on the type of business you had. If you have a 10-year business, you never contacted them, well, you probably got, 20 leads, 30 leads, 50 leads, 100 leads, 200 leads, depending on the business you have. So interesting way to set this up. Then you got your review ask flows. So that's going to be whenever you have your client and you've offered them a service, you want your reviews, because as mentioned before in the whole flow, if I go here you go. So your online reputation is very important, because if somebody notices your business, they're going to check you out. Most cases, they're going to check you out. They either contact you directly, depending on the type of service, the type of person they are, or they're going to check you out. And if they check you out, they're going to check your online reputation. So the more reviews you have, the better it is. The more quality reviews you have, the better it is. And the more distribution of reviews you have, the better it is. So if you want that, which most businesses do want that, or it's valuable for them to have that, then you want to ask your clients for reviews. And the way you could do that is you could do it automatically through review ask flows. So basically, you can send them an email, just like the referral ask flows, where you send them all an email saying, "Hey, we're glad to have done this service for you." You can even do this in the same email, but some people might not like that. But you can say, "Hey, look, we're interested. We're trying to expand. We're trying to get some reviews. Wondering if you could share your experience with us. Here's the link." And even you could attach an image as a tutorial. You could say, hey, here's a link and here's a PDF tutorial on how to set up, how to leave a review, for some people who are less experienced with the internet. So you could always set this up this way. There's many ways to skin the cat on this one, but you could set these up automatically also for current clients. So if somebody's, in your CRM, you have it in your patterns that when the client receives the service, as soon as they receive the service, there's an email going out to them saying, hey, can you leave us a review? Which basically you want to ask for reviews when the person is most satisfied with your service. So hopefully it's when they finish your service. So let's say if you're a hair salon, it's right after the haircut, after you show them in the mirror, if they like it, then you say, hey, can you leave us a review? That's usually when you want to ask for reviews. You don't want to ask it 10 months later, but in any case, if you have past clients, it might be worth it for you to ask those reviews anyways. Automatic review responses. This is something with the chatbot that you could set up. Is that, let's say you have your Facebook reviews, your Google My Business reviews, or other platforms that might be able to connect the chatbots. You can have automatic review responses. So instead of you having to manually deal with it, you get automatic response. The reason why you might want this is if negative reviews come in, if you automatically respond, you might want to do it manually, but if you have the automation and the automation set properly, it's going to respond to it and give the person the chance to call you back. Now, what happens is that as soon as that person leaves a bad review and you respond to them, they're going to get notified, or most of the time they're going to get notified. They get notified, maybe now they're going to go, they're going to be conscious of what they just give you a bad review. They're going to go, you know what? Maybe I'll call them, I'll see if they can't fix it. If they fix it, I'll change the review. So you could address the problem now and your rating stays high because you're constantly addressing every single negative review fast. And you're also showing that to clients because clients could see how fast it took you to answer the reviews. So for that, it's good. And also for positive reviews, you just thank people and it just looks good that you're engaging with your clients, which you are. It's just an automated fashion. So that's it for that. Now, number 3, most important thing is you got your sales optimizations. So then here you got all your flows. I'm not going to go into depth of every single one of them. I did it in the last video. Basically, if you want to check the video out, it's going to be the one that deals with the lead contacts you. I dealt with that a little bit more in depth. And if you want, you could download the trainings to access that. And we also have some tutorials on how to set up the actual automation, so the technical aspect of it, not just the theoretical ideation of it. So basically what you want is appointment reminder flows. So sending them emails to remind them of an appointment to increase your show up rate. You want pre-sales flows to increase close rate and also show up rate. No show canceled appointment flow to increase re-show up rate. During the sales flow, so when you're during the sales process, a sales cycle, you might want to give them some values, give them some information, give them some tips so that they keep getting engaged with you and they keep understanding, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They're giving me value. Like I'm already grateful for what they've done. So I'd like to move forward. So just pushing the person with, with gifts, pushing the person to say, hey, look, we're actually, well, it's not even pushing, I would say it's attracting. It's to say, hey, look, we got all these things. Like, why don't you come and work with us? Like this is what we could do. This is what we've done. Maybe you're sharing case studies and stuff like that. If somebody ignores or rejects you, you could always have flows that continuously email them because maybe they rejected you that moment, that month. It didn't make sense for them because their revenue is low. They don't have cash in the bank or whatever it may be. But maybe a month from now, a year from now, 10 years from now, they might be interested. So you could do that. And you could set that up until infinity, basically. So this is the same principle as your infinity flow, but your infinity flow would be for rejected offers as well as accepted offers. And then you have your onboarding flows. So whenever somebody answers, somebody becomes a client, then you might have an onboarding flow where you're giving them extra bonus value after you've done the service, maybe giving them more tips, more information. You know, in our case, if we're working with a client and we've noticed stuff that, let's say, we don't do directly, so we're not doing that service directly, but we see those are opportunities, we might share that in the onboarding flow so that after we've took on the client, we say, okay, look, we're going to be working on this while we're working on this. Why don't you look at this, and that? Because we see opportunities in there. We don't actually do this us as a business, but you might be interested in doing that yourself. So maybe we see their Google My Business is under optimized. We say, okay, look, you can set these little minute optimizations up. We might do Google My Business, but it depends on the plan they choose. But in any case, we give them value on these type of things and say, okay, look, here are the resources. Boom, just engages the client more, and it just feels better to do it this way. Gives the client more engaged and increases your future, and your AOV actually increases your average order value because, your lifetime value, your LTV, because in the end, people are going to be spending probably more with you because of all this value you're giving them and all this exchange of value there. So that's pretty much it for the sales optimizations. Then you got your website design. All right. So for the website design, things you want to take into consideration is you want it to be branded. You want your website to reflect your brand because you don't want confusion from when somebody sees you on Instagram, goes on your website, and then they don't see your website, they might think it's the wrong one. You don't want any confusion there. So you want the colors, you want the branding, you want the whole style to be the same. But for most businesses, over designing a website is a thing, and it's something that's going to cost you. It's not going to be usually worth it. So depending on the type of niche you're in, but if you're, let's say, a service business like a roofer, well, you're not selling designs, you're not selling aesthetics. So if you have a website that's completely, that's beautiful and it's aesthetic, and it might get people to engage with your aestheticism, but a roof, well, it depends on the roof. Some roofs are made to be aesthetic because you see them. But let's say a flat roof company, the flat roof is a flat roof. Nobody sees it unless you're in the air. Nobody sees it. So your selling point as a business is not aesthetics. So your website doesn't truly matter how aesthetic it is. It has to have some structure just so it's pleasant to the eye, but to overly aestheticize it and have designs and artistic visions in it, it doesn't serve the purpose of your website. Now, if you're a restaurant and you're trying to engage people through an emotion, then maybe your website has to reflect a certain design. It's going to be more branded. It's going to be more aesthetically pleasing, and maybe it's going to affect your conversion rate in a sense. But your brand is elevated because of the vision that you're expressing to your website. So that's always the play you have to play with when you're doing your website, is how much design, how much brand, and how much conversion rate optimization can I do? Because usually they're against each other. The more beautiful your website is, probably the slower it is and the lower it converts, because it gets confusing, because it just becomes like a piece of art. So it's not a tool. That's it. So it becomes a piece of art, not a tool. So people might lose themselves there, but at the same time, your brand is getting more uh, is getting higher of appreciation in your customers' eyes, which might lead to higher order values, or whatever it may be. So in any case, this is a balance you have to check for your own business. But in most cases, in our cases, uh, conversion rate optimization is king, because that's what a business wants usually wants more money, and then the rest follows second. So that's it for that. For that there. Then after that, you have your video sales letter. I would say is the second most important thing in website design. Video sales letter is basically a video sharing what your business is, and the way most businesses, it would be best for most businesses to structure it, is that your VSL should be at the above the fold. So when somebody lands on your website, on your homepage of your website or your landing page, the video is visible there. They could click on it and see it there, whether it's on mobile or on desktop. And that video objects handles every single objection that a client might have, consciously or unconsciously, in an ordered fashion, but as a story. So the way I could explain is that, if, let's say, I'm a roofing company, the biggest objections people might have, consciously or unconsciously, is it going to be too expensive? Can my insurance pay for it? How long is the roof going to last? Can I even trust this business? So these are, let's say, the four main objections, just top of my head. Now, if I'm doing a video, I'm going to be the owner, whatever type of video style you're going to do. What you want to do is you want to address these things. So maybe you address them through video by showing people the roofs you've done and how pretty they are. Maybe by showing them that you've been in business for 30 years. Maybe by showing them all the reviews that you have. Maybe by showing them customer testimonials. Case studies. It could be various things, but you want to address every single one of these from the highest constraint, the highest objection people I have, to the lowest. And then by doing that, then you have a video, which, an expression I like to use is to say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a video is worth 1,000 videos. A video is worth 1,000 pictures. So a video conveys a lot more information than having images and text in your website. So having a video gets people to engage with you more, gets people to understand your business more. And the more they understand your business, the more they engage with it, the more time they spend with it, the higher likelihood they're actually going to spend. So that taking into consideration, a VSL is probably the most important thing on your website to add if you haven't added that yet. I would say that and reviews, but for the main part, I would say just having that video there. Maybe it's a 2-minute video, 5-minute video, just gets people to engage with it. There's ways to optimize it for site speed so it doesn't affect your conversion rate. But in any case, video sales letter seems to be top. Then after that, you have your call to action optimizations. That means changing the color, changing the shadow, changing the animation, changing the border over the call to actions. Call to actions, by the way, I'm referring to buttons. So basically buttons that when they press, they either call you, email you, whatever action you want them to take. So maybe it's a form fill out or whatever it may be. In most cases, you have that button is going to be on your header. It's going to be in different sections of your website. The idea with the call to actions is you want them to be visible at every single scroll of your website. So if the person scrolls, like the person lands on your website, you want to have your call to action in your header and also in your hero. They call it hero section. So the main section of your website, you want it there as well as in the header. If you have that there, then when somebody scrolls, you want to then constantly have a visual on a call to action. You never want them to be without a call to action. The reason that being is that increases conversion rate, because people might be looking through your website, scrolling, and then at the point they make the decision that they're ready to purchase or they're ready to contact you, they don't see a button, they don't find it, maybe because that whole section doesn't have one, then they give up and they move on. So you don't want to lose those opportunities. Sounds stupid, sounds like minute details, which they are, but they can have a significant effect. So changing, we've noticed that having a button that looks more like real life, so having a type of shadow on it, making it pop a little bit more, having borders around it, having a slight animation to make it jiggle or make it pulse when you put your mouse over it. That increases the conversion rate, increase the clickability of the button. Now, you don't want to make it too spammy. There's always those, when you get on a spammy website, you have those big buttons. But the reason they do it like that is because it works. People press those. So in any case, you want to have those buttons as buttony as possible, basically. And then you want to have them everywhere. So you can have one that's floating. You can have one that's static on your website in the sense that whatever you scroll at, this button stays there. So constantly people could click it. On mobile, you might want to have one that's it. That when you're scrolling with your finger, you can have one at the bottom right, so that if ever you want to just give them a call, you give them a call there. Stuff like that. Other optimizations, which again in the trainings they're described. You have optimization. You have like let's say if you have a phone number button, you want people to call you from that phone number. Well, on mobile, you might just want to put, because it's a smaller screen, you might just want to put like a circular one with a call emoji, so a phone emoji. But if you're on desktop, you might want to put it in a way where it actually writes out the number. So instead of just being call us, you actually have the number there. The reason being is that if you have the number there, people see it and then they pick up their phone and they call the number. Because if you're on desktop, you're not going to be calling through your desktop. In most cases, you're not going to be calling through your desktop. So you don't want to press on the button. You actually want to see the number and call it. So if that button should be written out that way, then on mobile should be just the emoji so people click on it. Or the icon so just people click on it. So little optimizations like that. Then after that, you got your testimonial embedding. On your website, one of the biggest things for conversion rate is having testimonials. The more testimonials you have, the better. So if at the end of your website, the page of your website, you keep scrolling and there's testimonials, that looks better. There's ways to do it aesthetically so that it doesn't look spammy or off. But in any case, the more testimonials you have, the better it is. So even if it's horizontal scrolling, if you have 1,000 testimonials, people want to read through 1,000. They just want to see how many testimonials you have, the better it is. I've spoken about this in other videos, but the hierarchy of testimonials goes like this. No testimonials is at the bottom. Text testimonials or written testimonials are second. Third testimonials are image. So you have either the image of the service or the image of the person, so a profile picture, plus their testimonial. And then you have video testimonials that are here. Then within video testimonials, so video testimonials are better than text. Text is better than, video is better than image. Image is better than text. Text is better than nothing. But if you have and also, side note, embedded. So if you have Google My Business, you show that it's Google My Business reviews. Instead of just saying generic reviews on your website, you say it's from Google My Business or from Facebook. You could copy and paste them. You could have plugins to constantly update it. But in any case, you want to show that where it's from because that gives it authority. But in any case, in the videos, you also have tiers of video review hierarchy. The best reviews is from influencers. Second best reviews is just like selfie style. I would say selfie style video of the person explaining their experience. And then the third one would be just a video of you filming the service you've done with the review of the person. So that's the hierarchy. In any case, you want to have as many as those as possible. So if you have influencer reviews, you want to show them all within your website because the bigger the influencer, the more people are going to trust that person if they know them. So if they get on your website and they see that you did that, it's going to be good for you. So an example I could give you is this dental company in Montreal that they had these influencers. They gave these influencers, like teeth whitening for free. But I believe it's for free. So in exchange, they would do posts or they would do little videos. Well, if you go on their website, they have those videos of those girls with their teeth whitened and doing the little video there. Well, what that does is that the person who trusts that influencer or likes that influencer is going to be influenced by their decision of going to that business. And also, influencers are probably attractive people. They're probably people who have, they look aesthetically, they look good, they make sense, they look sharp or whatever it may be. So if you show that in your website, then you show that it's people like this who use this service. So it entices people to use that service if they want the results like those people. So things to take into consideration. Then you got some miscellaneous design optimizations like changing up the header, optimizing the offer that you have, changing the color of the background. You could change your mouse. You could also change your mouse on your website, so you could make it, depending on the animation you might want to test out. You have your background that's that's moving around with the website so that people get more engaged with it. There's many different ways. Then when you get to that point, it's really to get 0.1 conversion rate better, 1% conversion rate better at max. But in any case, these are going to be the 4 best ones. Then after that, it's going to be really minute details, only going to be worth it, usually only going to be worth it for businesses that are doing over $1 million a year through their website. So that's it for web design. Now for website structure. All right, so for optimizing the structure of your website, you have above the fold, which is basically the first section that people see. So as soon as they land on your website, they're going to see this section. Then you have the below the fold, and then you have the other aspects like a booking calendar, thank you page, exit intent pop-up, and some miscellaneous optimizations. So when I'm talking about optimizing the structure of the above the fold, I would say for most service businesses, it's going to depend on the type of business you are. But if you are a business that has forms, so if people should fill out a form for an inquiry or whatever it may be, you want that form to be in the first section. You don't want, most people have a contact us button. You go on the contact us button, then you get to the form. But you get higher conversions if the form is at the forefront of the page. Maybe you get less quality form submissions because people don't have the time to read your business as much. But in most cases, people know what they want. If your title is clear, roofing in Montreal, and you have a form there, and you have a description there, and you have some reviews, that people are going to fill out that form. That's all they need to know. Roofing Montreal, I want a quote. So that's a way to do it. And in the worst case, they press on contact us, there's still a form there. So if they want to take the time to read it, they can. But if they're just looking to get a quote, they just fill out the form and boom, it's done. So that increases your conversion rate there. So I would say for those businesses, I'm talking about desktop now. For mobile, it's going to be different, but just to give an overall idea, you want your form to be there, you want your phone number to be there, you want your email to be there, and you want some reviews. So headline, description, reviews, phone number, email, form. If you don't have forms, then you could just remove that. Maybe you have an image, maybe you have some other design elements there to fill out the space, but you still want headline, description, reviews. Let's say like a number of reviews, 5,000 reviews, 300 reviews, whatever it may be. Maybe some bullet points too, but in any case, phone number, email. So that's the above the fold structure. Again, in the trainings, is going to be more descriptive, but it's just an overview. Below the fold, so the first scroll and down. So basically, anything that isn't above the fold, anything that isn't the first thing that people see. There's different ways to optimize it. I would say you want to handle it like the VSL, like the video sales letter. You want to handle it like an objection handling. So you want every single objection that a client might have. You want to deal with them from the highest priority, the highest objection, to the least important objection. And the thing is that people don't do, or some businesses do, but most local businesses don't, because usually they hire out a company to do it, so they don't do it themselves. But your website could be as long as you want. So it could be 100 scrolls deep. So it doesn't matter, because the person who's interested in your service, as soon as they get enough information, they're going to contact you or they're going to leave the page. So that you have more information there is just better for the person who's curious about your business or is still not sold, to keep searching for more information, more information, more information. It doesn't really hurt. It might look off for the person, but who scrolls the whole website? Nobody does. So in any case, you would want to have as much information as possible there. And the way you want to structure it is, like I was saying, for the objections. So if the main objection is price, well, first thing you say is payment plans available. Let's say if you're a roofing company, payment plans available, and insurance claims available, payments, or whatever you might say. So you handle the objection of payments first section. Then second section, that people don't trust roofing companies because people are scared that the roofing companies are going to screw them over, they're going to do a bad job. So here you put all your reviews, and you put even your case studies, or not case studies in that case, but you would just put videos of the roofs you've done and how good you did them and how long they lasted. Maybe you've been in business for 40 years, you show that. Then third section, that people, and you go down the list. And then when you're going to notice with your own business, pretty much what are the objections people have, what are the reasons they didn't do business with you, or what are the reasons, because that's the thing, there's reasons people say, there's reasons people don't say. So people might not say it's because of their price, or people might not say it's because they don't trust you. They might not say this out loud. So you have to kind of assume these things. But in any case, that's how you could set it up. And then the design elements of that's going to depend on your website, your branding, or whatever it may be. But in most cases, that's how you want to structure it, like that. Then after that, you have some booking calendar optimizations. The training, we go over those, but to try to increase the chances that the person, when they get on a booking calendar, let's say if that's the type of business you have, same principle again, you'd want to have the booking calendar at the top. Or if you're not at the top, if you depends. For a booking calendar, you don't want too many people to book a call because it takes more space of your time. So maybe you want to have it lower in your funnel, in your website. But in some cases, you might want to have it at the top. So have the option at the top to book a calendar right there. So you have it embedded in your website. Instead of them clicking to go to a link, you have it embedded in your website right there, so they could book a call right there. That's different optimizations. You could write some stuff, depends on the software you're using. So that's another thing. Thank you page. So whenever somebody fills out a form, somebody books a calendar, books a call in the calendar, instead of you just having a message saying thank you for submitting the form, you could redirect them to a page. That page could be a thank you page. Well, it is a thank you page. And that page is going to state, thank you for booking, or thank you for inquiring. Here's some more information that might be useful to you. You could put some case studies, you could put some reviews, you could put some lead magnets in there, you could put some information that might be valuable to them in any sense. And instead of just having a little message here, now you got more information to engage with them with. That's going to increase the chances that they're going to show up to the appointments, and also might increase your the LTV of the client, because the average order value of that next transaction, because now they're going to be informed more about your business, they're going to learn more, and maybe you could even upsell them on something. So if on the call you said, okay, it's going to be a 30-minute call for X service, well, now on the thank you page you say, hey, by the way, we also do Y service. Would you like to add this to our call so we could talk about it? Okay, perfect. Yes, I'm interested in that. Boom. So now you just increased just because you did a thank you page instead of a little message. So short optimizations that could have a large effect. Another one that I find very interesting, exit intent pop-ups. Nobody likes pop-ups, but at this point, if somebody leaves your website, you might as well give them a pop-up. So the way they work, these exit intent pop-ups, is that, let's say in this example here, I'm on the board. If I were to leave with my mouse, this only works for desktop, but if I were to leave with my mouse and I leave here, when I get to this section here, before the URL, before the tab section, it's going to pop up because it's going to recognize when the mouse is in this tiny section here. So let's say if the mouse goes into these pixels on the whole length, it's going to pop up something, a message. Now that could be your lead magnets. It could be, even your booking forms, your for like a form or your calendar or whatever it may be. So that when those people who are going to leave, instead of them leaving and never engaging with you again, at least you have a chance to capture some of those leads back. This trick I learned from Neil Patel. This is something that he does for his business that I remember mentioning him he mentioned in the video. And he said something like for his business was something like 6% increase in sales because of this. Just by the fact of when somebody was going to leave the site, they had a pop-up. And that pop-up takes up the whole page, and it just shows everything to the business owner. So interesting way to set this up. It's relatively easy. We even have a tutorial on how to actually set this up within Wix. Pretty easy to set up. You could play around with the pop-up itself. So different things you could set up in it. You could put free lead magnets. You could put your calendar. You could put your quotes, whatever it may be. Depends on the type of business you have. You can play around with those and test it. But 6% is a very significant amount. Then you got some other miscellaneous optimizations, how to structure the minute details. Again, they're going to be in the trainings. And that's pretty much it for that. Then you got your website speed. So website speed, it's ranked here because basically these three you would do at the same time. Website design, website structure, website speed. I would argue website speed, we could even put it up here over website design. But in any case, these three are probably coming hand in hand. And the reason why is because website speed, you could change your website speed in 3 hours. You could optimize your website for speed in 3 hours, and you can have effects that are 10%, 30%, 50% increase in conversion rates just by improving your speed. So you might think that's crazy, but if your website is loading at 4% site speed, I believe we have the statistics over here. Let me show you. So if I go here, yeah, that's it. So website speed. So this graph is not representative of everything, but just to give you an idea, conversion rate here, average conversion rate, and the speed it takes to load up a page. So if it takes 0 to 1 seconds, conversion rate average was 31%. If it takes 1 to 2 seconds, conversion rate average was 20.28%. 2 seconds, 13%. 2 seconds, 13%, 12%, 9%. So you see the declining. Now there's some exceptions here, but you see how the decline happens, where the faster your website is, the higher your conversion rate is. the slower your website is, the lower your conversion rate is. And it makes sense because if you're searching up something on the internet and the page takes 7 seconds to load, 7 seconds, you're gonna click off that page. Most likely, you're gonna click off that page. And if you're an impatient buyer, you're an impulse buyer, whatever, even if you're looking for a service fast, you're not in the mode to wait 7 seconds per page. You might think it's broken. So if you think it's broken, you're gonna refresh it. It's still not gonna load. It's not gonna look properly. It's not gonna look good. It's gonna be all buggy. People can interact with it. So improving that gives you conversion rate boost automatic. And the beauty of it is that for other things, you might want to test these things out. So for design, you might want to test one design compared to another design. The structure, you might want to test one variation compared to the other variation, one sequence compared to another sequence, and so on and so forth. Automation, certain emails. For website speed, you improve it, it should improve your conversion rate. 99% of the time, it's going to improve your conversion rate. So it's not like a testing thing. It's as close as a guarantee as you could get. There's no guarantees in these type of optimizations, but it's as close as a guarantee as you could get, because the faster your website loads, the faster people can interact with it. The faster people can interact with it, the more people are going to interact with it and end up purchasing from you. So the faster somebody could click a button to call you, the faster that it's going to happen. So you want to reduce every single friction points that people can have before contacting you. If you could, it would be instantaneous, but that's not a reality of a website. So usually under 1 second for most websites, if you don't have software in the back end or anything like that, 1 second you could achieve for most websites. I would say for basically every single service business, you could achieve under 1 second websites. What does that mean? Well, this graph shows us, 1/3 increase in conversion rate. I don't know what the exact stats are going to be for your website. These are going to vary, but just an interesting note to take into consideration. So let's get back now to where we were at here. So that's it. So you got what you can do. You could do some image and video optimizations. Basically, you're compressing the images and you're changing the image files. So most images are going to be in PNG or JPEG or JPG. What you could change them into WebP files. And WebP files, I believe it's Google files. So it's Google's formatting for images. And what that does is that since it's recognized by Google, this is what I believe. I'm not too sure how it works. I just know that it does. Is that the file becomes less heavy, and so Google could generate it faster on a website. So when somebody's searching through Google search engine, or I believe the other search engines as well, but in any case, Google search engine is the biggest one, the image is going to load faster than the other one. So the quality is going to be the same, basically the same, but the image is going to load faster because it's a WebP format. So there's free converters online. You take your image, you go to WebP format converter, and you change it. Then what you could also do is you could compress the image. So basically, from what I understand, is it's not reducing the quality, it's compressing it. So, but in any case, compressing it makes it easier to load, makes it faster to load. And then so you compress it, then you change it to a WebP file, and then those two optimizations together could reduce your load speed, which usually for website speed, the biggest factor is image or video optimization. There's this website called the Mac, I believe it's considered the fastest website in the world. There's a video on that on YouTube, but I have to find it. But anyways, Mac Tools, actually, give me a second, let me find it. Okay, so I just checked mecmastercar.com. So CARR for car. Actually, it's just mecmaster.com. That website loads so fast that when you're interacting with it, it feels so organic, so fluid. You can interact with every single aspect. It's almost instantaneous, and the feeling you get for that, you could deal with more. For them as an e-commerce store, they're selling their stuff online. It makes sense for them because the person is going to have a cart. They have, they're probably going to choose 10 different articles. Well, the faster they could choose between these different articles, the more likely they're going to buy them. Because if it takes them 10 seconds to find one, 10 seconds to find another, 10 seconds, it's just long, it's annoying, they don't want to deal with it. Now it's fast. They could find every single piece of the equipment there. Now, same thing for a website for service business. The main thing, they're only going to do one interaction with your website, which is going to be contacting you. But in any case, you want every information that they might want to access to be as fast loading as possible, so they could just go through it as fast as possible. In any case, that's an example. If ever you guys want to check that out, it could be an interesting example to compare. There's a video on YouTube about it, McMaster Car, fastest website in the world, something like that. Anyways, those are more complex optimizations. They got really under, they got under 0.1 seconds of website loading speed. But in any case, Then you got some front-end optimizations. So that would be your animations, changing your animations, lowering the amount of animations you have, changing your fonts. You could change the structure of your website so that the heavier loading elements, maybe some big images, are going to be lower in your website. So you can optimize it for that. And then you got some back-end optimization. So dealing with Google through Google to try to teach Google in a way what your website is like. There's things like preloading links. So if somebody has their cursor over a certain link, it's going to preload the page already. So when the person ends up clicking on it, the page is already loaded. So it's loading pages before the person clicks on it. So it's preloading the links. So those are ways to really optimize the speed. In most cases, for most service businesses, these are overkill. It doesn't get you that much of an edge because the amount of traffic you're getting is not going to be extreme. But for the major ones, I would say just optimizing the image and the video. Same thing for the video. You could probably compress it. You can make it. You can embed it outside of your profile. So instead of having it embedded in your website, you have it embedded in YouTube, so that it's more like a link with a preview, basically. So you can set that up, and that could really optimize your whole thing. Now, we're going to get into here. I'm not going to go into depth too much into these three here for the SEO because they're more complex, and that I go over these. It's not going to be much value to go over them like this. But again, the trainings, you can download those. There's going to be explanations on every single one of them. But basically, front end SEO, you want to have the keywords that you find through tools and certain formulas. You want to find the best possible keywords that there is. So the ones that are, the value equation goes like this. You want the highest volume, search volume. So the keyword that people are searching for the most. You want the keyword that is least competitively difficult. So how difficult it is for me to compete for that keyword. So how many other competitors are using it, or how strong are they with it? How strong does Google consider them to be with it? And then the intent of the buyer or the visitor. So the way you could see it is that the higher the amount of people are searching it. So let's say 1,000 people are searching this every month. They're searching roofer in Montreal. I have a lot of competitors that are going for it. So I have 10 competitors that are going for it, and they're ranking higher for it. But it's super high intention to my business because I am a roofer in Montreal. So I want this very related to my business. Then the keyword has a lot of value. Now, if it's the opposite, some keyword that's random, it's going to be gutter cleaning in Montreal. Your competitor is not too high, but your intent is not close to what you're actually serving, then it's not worth it for you to have the keyword. So that's how you would formulate the whole thing. And then, anyways, in the trainings, I keep repeating myself, but in the trainings, there is a formula there that you could use to set up these things and actually have numbers to guide you. In any case, when you have those keywords, you want to implement them basically in every single aspect of your website. So that's your title tags, your meta descriptions, so whatever you share with Google in your actual content. So in your actual titles, in your actual descriptions, in your actual secondary description, secondary titles, tertiary description, tertiary titles, in your images, in the alt text of the images. So the images have text. So you could change that and have keywords in there. You always want to be careful of spam. You always want to make sure that you're not doing too much that Google is going to consider you as a spammy website. You always want to play with Google's guidelines. But in any case, that's what you could do. Then you got programmatic SEO. This is another strategy that's been popularized now. Is you doing multiple pages of your website. So let's say you have your homepage and you have a service. Let's say you're a roofer. So I'm going to keep using this example, but you're a roofer in Montreal. Well, let's say in Montreal there's 20 sub-cities, so subdivisions of the city. Well, you want to have a page that says Roofer Montreal, okay, but then Roofer Montreal North, Roofer Montreal South, Roofer Montreal East, Roofer Montreal West. So every single section of that city, you want to have a page dedicated to that, have some information that's slightly varied for every single one of those pages, so Google doesn't consider them as duplicate pages. And then what that does is that you're ranking for keywords like Roofer Montreal East. So when somebody's searching Roofer Montreal East, you have a higher likelihood of showing up than the person who just has Roofer Montreal. So you could do that for every single city. Then you could do that for every single service. And then you could do that for every single service for every single city. And that's when it gets, you can have a 300-page, 500-page, 1,000-page websites. Some cases like Airbnb, because they're a software company and they're doing those things worldwide, they have probably millions of pages. I remember checking one time and they have a page for, rental for every single city. So the page titled, apartment rental or tourist rentals or whatever keywords you're going to be using. Tourist rentals Venice, tourist rentals Paris, tourist rentals Brussels, tourist rentals Luxembourg. Like every single city there is, they have a page for it. So if you could imagine how many cities there is in the world, they have a page for it. So that's programmatic SEO. Then you could optimize your URLs, your domains. You could have keywords in there, your snippets. I'm going to go into that and that, and then some other miscellaneous optimizations. Back in SEO, you could upload your sitemap to Google and Bing. Basically, it's the map of your whole website. So how it's structured, and you could share that with Google and Bing and say, hey, look, this is what it looks like. And that helps them organize their content and then help you rank higher as well. So schema markups to your own redirects for pages, robots, TXT, and so on. Then link building SEO. In the trainings, we have exactly how to set up all the foundation links, all the backlinks, all the foundations you can set up for free. Then what are the ways you can get backlinks? Internal links, this is basically linking between every single page of your website that helps you that helps your website have higher authority within Google's eyes. And you got outbound links, basically you linking your website linking to other pages. So those are ways there. Then we've got social sites, which is at the end of our improvement priority list, like your initial improvement priority list. Social sites, we don't put much effort into this just because it's very varying. Because content, it depends on the trend, depends on the type of content you're doing. It has a lot of variables to it, so it's tough to structure and put into a box. So we don't take much effort into this. But what you can do is you have a profile that you could do it once. It's basically done forever. Is have a profile optimized on every single platform. So that means every single main social media, every directory, every place, every review site, every place that you could create a free profile on, you have one, and you have your name, address, phone number, and website linked there, and the same on every single one of them, so that you show yourself up as being everywhere. So people, whenever they see you up, they can find you. So you could get some leads from there, and also increase your conversion rate because you seem authoritative because you're everywhere. Then what we would recommend for most service businesses, let's say they're not willing to invest, big bucks in content strategies, because if you are to do it, it's worth to do it well, is just to have appearance posts. So those posts are going to be maybe, some static image posts that, let's say, we've done for one of our clients, where every it's 3 times a week, we have a post for them, automated for the whole year. It's just static post with quotes or, different images, or just very basic things about their business, or just showing their client results or testimonials or whatever it may be. And that's just automated. So every 3 days they're posting. And what that does is that at least the authority that the business seems like it's alive, it's active, and it's moving. Because the worst thing that happens is that if somebody sees everything on your website, they see that, okay, they trust you, then they get to your social media, and the last time you posted was 305 weeks ago, they're going to consider you as a dead business. They're good, but sometimes no, but in most cases they're going to say, okay, this person's not even active anymore. The business isn't running anymore, so I'm not going to deal with them, or I'm less likely to deal with them because of that fact. So what you want is, you at least want to have posts put up so that people see that and say, okay, at least he's alive. So that's the purpose of doing those posts. More than that, it doesn't really get you much traction, especially static posts. Now everybody's watching, reels and whatever. It's really for more when people land on your page or they're searching you up. When they find you, at least you're alive. So that's the idea of it. Then you could always optimize it. Have some engaging content. You could answer questions on Facebook groups, asking questions on Reddit core blogs. There's many ways to automate to improve on these social sites. But mainly, I would say for most service businesses that are not willing to invest large sums of money, because it does work, content marketing, but in most cases, just to have a baseline, that's the foundation. So that's pretty much it for the improvement priority list, the initial ones. Now for the continuous improvements, you got reputation management, because obviously you don't want just good reviews for one day. You want them for the rest of your life, and you want to keep adding to those reviews. So you have all the profiles on all the review sites optimized. So same thing as I was talking about for the Instagram, whatever. Well, all your review sites, your Trustpilot, whatever, your Google My Business, your Yelps, your TripAdvisor, whatever, you could create profiles on them. Sometimes they create it for you because you're going to notice your business on Google My Business, and it's going to be automatically updated. But you want to create your own. And if you create your own, you control what's written on it, and you control all the information you're sharing with your clients on it. And then you want to answer those reviews that are all on there and stuff like that. You want to ask your past clients for reviews. This is a one-time thing in a sense, because if you're not continuously asking them for reviews, then you're asking your past clients just that one time. But you could also ask them multiple times. So if some people haven't answered you back, maybe you answer them a second time. But that you got to be wary of that, because if the person hasn't given you a review, maybe if you ask them 2 times, they may give you a bad one. So I'm going to say you're harassing them. So better not to do that. If you want, what you could do is respond to all the reviews. So continuously responding to all the reviews, positive and negative, on every single site. So Google My Business, Yelp, Trustpilot, whatever it may be. The reason why you want to do this, well, it's multifold. Number one, if it's a negative review, you answering back might change that review, because if you answer back with a solution, or you're offering them a solution, they might be willing to say, okay, well, this person offered me a solution, let me remove my review, let me change my review, because now I got the service I actually wanted. There's that. There is positive reviews. So if people left you a positive review, you might answer them back, not just by saying, hey, thank you. You could also say, hey, thank you for XYZ service that you purchased. Just FYI, if ever you're looking for, put in, insert, upsell service. If you're looking for this upsell service, we could sell you that as well. Like, we could do that as well. So you could also get sales from those reviews. So something to consider. And then all the other benefits of it, you just look more authoritative. You look like your business is alive. You look like you're actually taking care of clients. The fact that you respond to reviews might lead people who are trolls or people who are impulsive about the reviews to think about it twice, because now they understand that there's somebody else on the other side of this that's actually going to read this. It's not just a blank, post platform. It's not just a blank form. Something to consider there. Now, for review ask automations, you can set them up so that whenever you finish with a client, whenever the client is satisfied, you send them an automatic email or an automatic SMS asking them for a review. Purchasing review as tools, so tap cards, QR, business cards, etc. This is an interesting one. So if you're a service business, especially a local one where you're interacting with people direct, not just through the phone, through calls or whatever, you can have these cards that are Google My Business review cards that people with their phone, they tap with their phone, and that links them directly to the Google My Business profile. When they get on there, they can leave you a review directly from that page. So instead of you sending them a link, them getting the link, clicking on it, maybe it takes a long time to load it up. They don't think about it. Now you're there in front of them. You have that card. Maybe you have it as a stand on your desk, and people pass next to it. They tap on their phone. They leave a review. So that's a way to ask it easily. And if you have people on the job, so let's say if you have a roofing company, you have your guys on the job. Well, if the guy's next to the owner, as soon as you finish your roof, say, hey, owner, are you happy with all the service? Whatever, anything else I can help you with? No, okay, it's all good. Okay, perfect. Do you mind if you give us a review? Just, be honest, give your own review. I'm not going to force you, but here's a card. You can tap it. Boom, give me a review. That's it. So tools like that, QR business cards. You can have QR codes in front of your business or whatever it may be on your menu or at the table, so people can leave a review. If you're a restaurant, you can leave a review directly there. Got to be careful with those too, because if you're having bad experiences, some people might do it that way. But in any case, you can have it at the table there, the QR code imprinted on the table, so that when the server finishes the service, he says, "Hey guys, do you mind? We have a review QR code there. If you mind giving us a review, it would help us." And that's it. Then some miscellaneous tactics and optimizations. We have it in the trainings, just some various things. Then, last thing here for continuous improvements, competition analysis. So with online optimizations also comes optimizing against your competition. So your competition, we talked about SEO before, where your competition might be ranking for certain keywords. So that's where something you want to know. Maybe they're doing certain ads, maybe they're having certain offers, maybe they're doing certain products. Well, the beauty of it is that you could there's tools like a SpyFu or other types of tools like that, software like that, where you could basically track all the online activity that is public of your competitors. So you could see what they're doing, how many followers they're getting, what's their growth rate, how many posts they're doing, because all this information is public. So it's just an agglomeration of all that, gives you all that information. So you could pretty much track the progress and basically keep an eye on everything and just make sure that nobody's beating you. That's if you're a very competitive person. In any case, you might want to just keep track of it just to see how the market's going. So you can have some continuous reports, so initial overall reporting of all competitors, but then you can have some continuous reports with these softwares. You could also report actions against Google guidelines. This is one of the best ways to rank high on Google fast. So if you see a competitor is cheating, basically they're cheating because let's say there's the Google guideline says you can't, like I was saying before in the title, you can't have your business title be anything else than your actual business title. So if your legal title, well, if that person is doing something else, they wrote some keywords in there, well, you could report that to Google and get them temporarily banned, and so they rank lower on the rankings, and then you get to potentially rank higher than them there. So that's that. Competitor keyword strategies. This is something people use in Google Ads. So when they're doing advertising for Google Ads, they actually have a campaign with their competitors' keywords, because people sometimes, when they're searching for, let's say your roofing companies is ABC Roofing and your competitor is CBA Roofing, well, you might do some keywords on Google Ads where you're actually paying to rank for CBA Roofing. And the reason why is because some people might not realize that it's a different business. So some of it's ignorance, but some of it is also they're curious to know what you're offering too, because they went for CBA, but then they realize, oh, you know what? Okay, this company too might be interesting. So let me click on that. Click on you, and you might get that sale, which was intended for them. I don't know if it's intended for them, but that person intended to see the other person, but finally found your option as more valuable. So that's a way to play it. I think most service businesses that are doing Google Ads have a campaign dedicated to that. Now you have to be careful with that because the conversion rate might be worse, but at the same time you're taking from your competitors. So how much value does that bring to you depends what type of games you're playing. In most cases, for let's say the agency, the company that we're working with for Google Ads, one of the companies we're working with for Google Ads, well, the company. Anyways, the Google Ads, we haven't done that campaign just because there's more ways to capture the market in that way, and that way is very competitive and it's very attacking. So it doesn't create strong relationships, and these guys, they all know each other. So in any case, then you got some miscellaneous tactics and optimizations that you can always do. Again, described in the trainings. Now, just quick, we're going to go over these best A/B tests to be made. So this is if you've done these initial ones or the main ones that apply to your business, and if you're continuously improving, well, this is what you can continuously improve by testing. So some Google My Business optimizations are done once and forgotten, but let's say like your title and your description, if you are changing it because you're changing your legal name, you could change your title. If your description, you notice some more keywords are working better than others in your SEO, then you might want to change your Google My Business. Same thing with images and videos. That's one thing that you might want to consider, which maybe I should put in continuous improvements, but basically you want to keep adding images and videos to your Google My Business listing. Because if somebody goes on your Google My Business listing, and same thing as social media, they see that you last posted 3 years ago, they might think that your business is closed, or they might think that you're not offering your services anymore. But if you have images posted every week and every Sunday, just one picture just shows that, okay, he's active. He posted a picture last week, so that business is active. So whether it's your new offers, new discounts, new products, new services, new whatever, or just continuously just improving, just showing, that's something you could put. And what you could also do is test the main images, or maybe your profile image. You could test the main videos you're showing, or the main ones that you choose in Google My Business, because you could choose like a header image, or like a hero image, you could say, and you could test those out to see if that affects anything in your conversion rates. Then automations, you could test the different messaging within your missed call text back messaging, your sales automation messaging. Same things for the sales optimizations. Anything appointment reminder flows, you could change the messaging, offer different things, give different things away. Same thing here, same thing there, same thing there. Website design, video sales letter, that's probably going to be the biggest one, where you could have completely different video, and then you test out those two pages and see, okay, which video helps me convert the best. Okay, this video where I'm talking about this first, or this video where I'm talking about that first, or this video in this style and this video in that style. Like if you have strong contraction ones, you could really test variations and see, okay, how much more conversion am I getting here? How much more conversion am I getting there? And then secondly, I would say call to action optimizations. So like mentioning before, the color, the shadow, the animation, the jiggle, the size of the button, the color, the shade, like the how could you say, the gradient color of the button. So all these things you could test out. So if you know that, because it's been shown that red buttons tend to convert more, well, if it makes sense with your website, but you had a blue button, okay, now you put a red one. You see, if it's 5% more conversions, 2% more conversions, then you keep it red. And so you could split test those things, and they're very easy to test because it's just changing a color. So you have these two pages, they're the same page. 50% traffic goes one here, 50% traffic goes there. One is red, one is blue. See who performs better, keep that one, and then repeat with other little optimizations there. Here for website structure, above the fold optimizations, below the fold optimizations, just changing the structure around, changing, maybe the title, changing the title description, where it's placed, the size of it, changing the form, having the form, not having the form, having the calendar, not having the calendar, the bullet points you might include, the stuff like that you could change. Front-end SEO, the types of keywords you use within your website, your title tags and meta description. This is probably the easiest one you could change, but your title tags, if you know that for your main page, the one that gets the most traffic, your title tags is converting right now at 3% conversion rate from impression to clicking on your title tag. Well, now you could change it to something else and see, okay, is that increasing my conversion rate? Yes, no, okay, switch. The beauty of this is, I believe with Google, you could actually set up A/B tests, so they could actually give you all the statistics from this. But in any case, you're changing a sentence. So you change a sentence, you might get 2% more conversion rates. Okay, perfect. I changed the sentence, I made whatever, $10,000 more a year because I changed the sentence. So these are probably the easiest ones to optimize for, probably the highest priority ones in terms of SEO. And then the rest is just because there's more to it. But in any case, important there. And then the social sites is going to be the content. So the type of content you're posting, testing different types of content and playing around with that and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it for this video. If you want to access this whole optimization bundle, it's going to be linked in the description below. This is a paid product, but you could access it. And then here you could have, I'm not going to go through this in the video, but just because it's going to get too long, but potential upsides and downsides of improving every single one of these aspects. So what it could do, what it can't do, what it could do negatively, and how to try to fix this and how to mitigate the issues of it. So I have them all written down here. So if you want to ever see this, actually, you know what? I could just do this here. So if ever you guys want to pause it and take a screenshot, I'm just gonna have it like this. All right, like that. So perfect. So that's pretty much it for this video. If ever you guys want to add anything, this is what I say basically in every single video, is that if ever you guys want to add anything, you see something that's lacking, something that doesn't make sense, or any questions or anything that you think could be added to this, please let me know. It'd be great to add to this and keep expanding it. You know, this whole thing, I'd like it to be like a community thing where we keep adding to it and improving it. But in any case, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope it was valuable for your business. If you want to download the trainings, the 12 trainings that we have that I keep repeating about, link to the description below. If you want to access this optimization bundle, linked below. And if you want to contact us, Vizions Digital, the agency, you could do that with the calendar link below, and you can see the different services we offer and see if something could fit for you, and we can help your business basically apply all or some of these aspects to your business. So we do low ticket services, so lower services like optimizing landing pages, to complete optimizations where we do, website redesign, conversion rate optimization, SEO optimization, search engine optimization, email automations, AI chatbots, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.